Welcome to NFL World, where the NFL starts and ends. There's always some surprises in the NFL. A lot of injuries, but a lot of contract signings as well, especially during the beginning half of the year. As the 49ers and Dre Greenlaw, their linebacker, have agreed to a 2-year contract extension, putting him through 2024. It's a $19 million contract, more than $10 million guaranteed. Now, injuries do occur in the NFL, and we try to bring them to you the best we can. But for the Rams and the Broncos, this is a terrible thing to happen, as the Rams and offensive lineman Tremaine Inkerman was put on season-ending IR after a torn fibula. The Rams already have almost unfixable offensive line trouble with their injuries, the retirement of Andrew Whitworth. There was a lot going on, and some of these guys, you saw it in week 1 between the Rams and the Bills. The Rams could not block anybody. And I understand they were going against Von Miller, and it's his return and stuff like that. I get that. But they couldn't stop anybody. And against Atlanta, at one point, the Rams were winning 28-3 and almost lost. They won 31-27, but the Rams almost lost to Atlanta. This would have been a reverse 28-3. That's how crazy. This would have been a reverse of the Super Bowl that the Falcons were in 2017, where they were up 28-3 against the Patriots. They almost beat the odds against the Rams, who have a much better roster. But the fact that you only scored 3 points and the Falcons roar back, just insane. With Justin Simmons of the Broncos going on IR, the Broncos decided to sign Anthony Harris to the practice squad. Anthony Harris, formerly a Philadelphia Eagle, was cut a few weeks ago. He is now on the practice squad and was brought up to play against the Texans. Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker had an injury to his ankle. He was ruled out against the Chargers. They brought in a replacement kicker, Amendola. He did very well. So, no problems there. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot, but he did okay. Matt Amendola, originally with the Jets, did not do good with the Jets. He was the Chiefs kicker on Thursday night. Did fairly well. As we talked about in a previous video, Justin Herbert had torn rib cartilage. The expectation is he'll be okay, he'll play, but it's painful when he's going to be twisting and trying to fire, plus with that offensive line being very hit or miss. It's concerning if you are the Chargers, if Justin Herbert can't be 100%. The 49ers have signed punter Mitch Wishnowsky to a 4-year extension through 2026, just under $3 million a year. That, number one, is a great deal for a punter. You get him that cheap, and he's that good. It's what you want. Some bad news if you are the 49ers. Trey Lance is out for the year. He broke his ankle on the second drive of the game between the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. He broke his ankle. This is the reason why you kept Jimmy Garoppolo. You knew if Lance struggled, how long would it be until Garoppolo got an opportunity? Or if there was an injury. You don't wish injuries on anybody, But this is why you have Garoppolo, so he can take care of the situation. And they played well with Garoppolo. You could almost say they played better with Garoppolo than with Trey Lance. Because the thing about Lance, and I understand he's the young guy, but this team was just better with Garoppolo. This guy brought you to a Super Bowl a few years ago. Then brought you to an NFC Championship game last year. Even though it was improbable odds that he was able to do it. That he did. So it's not like this guy isn't able to do anything. But Trey Lance broke his ankle. Garoppolo did okay. They won the game pretty easily. And finally, the actions between the Buccaneers, Mike Evans, and the Saints, Marshon Lattimore, are under review by the NFL on whether or not there should be a suspension. They ended up being a brawl. What ended up happening was both the Bucs and the Saints had only scored 3 points to this point. And everyone was getting a little upset and frustrated because they're not doing very well. It was a very defensive-heavy game. And Lattimore ended up talking some trash to Leonard Fournette. Fournette kind of shoved him a little bit, but nothing too egregious. And then all of a sudden, Mike Evans comes out of nowhere and just shoves Marshon Lattimore, and then they start fighting. Both of those two guys were ejected. And this is not the first time that these two have come to blows, as back in 2017, Evans was suspended by the NFL for one game against when the Buccaneers had faced the Saints. Jameis Winston, now the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, started trying to talk trash to Marshon Lattimore, started hitting him in the back of the helmet. Finally, Lattimore turned around and Evans just blindsided him and started throwing hands. That ended up being a one-game suspension. To my knowledge, Evans and Lattimore are the only two, but there could be more. And if you're the Bucs, if you lose Evans, you have Julio Jones, and that's pretty much it. Russell Gage is not 100%. Chris Godwin did not play. Losing Mike Evans would be a gigantic loss. And it comes back to maturity if you're the Buccaneers, if Evans does get suspended for an act like this. And for the Saints as well, if Marshon Lattimore can't stop fighting the Buccaneers.